So I am Connie Gallippi, and I'm the founder and executive director of BitGive, which is the first government-recognized nonprofit in Bitcoin. And we are US-based, and we've been around since May of 2013. Well, officially launched in July of 2013. And this is my third time at the Latin American Bitcoin Conference. So my first time was only a few months into having founded BitGive, and I love coming to this conference every year. It's definitely the best one. I've been to many Bitcoin conferences. So it's a pleasure to be here again this year. So I'm going to talk a little bit about BitGive and have some interesting things to share with you about the work that we've been doing in the social impact realm. And later this evening, I'm not exactly sure if it'll be right after this, but we're going to do 2 different charity auctions. So, so you all can help support in Bitcoin nonprofit work as well. So we can start the slides, and then is there a clicker that I should be using?
Yeah.
Is it over here?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so let's see here. Beautiful. Okay, so you all have been learning lots of things about Bitcoin over the last couple of days, and many of those same attributes apply to working in the nonprofit sector and trying to do philanthropic work, especially in, across the world. So a lot of the traditional challenges to global philanthropy are about moving money from, generally from the developed world to the developing world, where a lot of the need is. And there's lots of challenges with that. There's a lack of access to financial services. There's lots of delays and fees and charges associated with the fact that those services are hard to access. And wait times and multiple steps, which often open up for liabilities to fraud. And Bitcoin and BitGive offers a solution to that by being able to transfer funds to very remote areas using the blockchain and using Bitcoin instantly with 0 fees in the case of BitGive, and in most nonprofits, the services that provide fund transfer and processing of transactions don't charge nonprofits. So there's really no fees at all. The blockchain itself provides transparency. So oftentimes there are questions about where the funding may go within a nonprofit or towards a particular project, and the blockchain can answer that question. It's also cryptographically secure, so you're eliminating the issues of fraud. And the vulnerabilities that having to go through traditional systems that require multiple steps, when you have one step and it's cryptographically secure, you take that away. And there's also pretty much almost instant settlement. If you've ever used Bitcoin, you know sometimes it takes a few minutes for the transaction to be confirmed, but for the most part, much better than waiting a week, right? So we are at BitGive, as I mentioned, the first, this 501c3 nonsense, what that means is we are a tax-exempt nonprofit in the United States, but we are a global organization. And we're focused on how to leverage this technology and this peer-to-peer transaction revolutionary technology for the nonprofit sector. So I mentioned we've been around for a few years. We're still a very young and very small organization. Our bandwidth is pretty narrow, but we've been able to do quite a bit. And I just had recently a wonderful volunteer put this great image together for us to show, it's probably hard to read, but to show where we have projects that we funded around the world. We started, the first one was with Save the Children. I don't know if there's a laser on this, but for the Philippines typhoon that happened in 2013. That was our first campaign that we ran for a nonprofit. And over the course of working with them for about a year, they were very interested in Bitcoin. They're obviously a very, very large and established and long-standing organization. They had a lot of questions about working with Bitcoin. But after working with them for some time, we were able to get them to sign up with their own account with BitPay. So they actually accept Bitcoin directly, which is a pretty major thing, having Save the Children. We then worked on a project with the Water Project, which is a US-based organization, but all of their work is in sub-Saharan Africa. So they build wells and a multitude of different kinds of water projects. We raised enough funding, I know you probably can't see it on here, but we raised over $11,000, which was enough to build an entire water well. And that well went in at a girls' school in a very remote area of Western Kenya. And I'm going to show you a video of that soon in a few minutes. I was very lucky to be able to go and visit the project as it was being completed, as the first water started to flow. The girls at the school were there, and it was probably 5-hour long or longer celebration of the entire community. Dozens of young girls that attend the school. It is a secondary school. And the surrounding community and the primary school next door. I still struggle. I was there in late February, early March. I still struggle to find the words to adequately describe it to anyone. There's really just not a way to do it justice. I think the video is pretty close, so I'm excited to share that with you. But you can imagine the impact that having clean, safe water would have on a community. We've also worked with Team Rubicon, and Techo was the campaign we did at last year's Latin American Bitcoin conference. And our most recent campaign we just completed is with MEX Mobile, and we funded over 640 mobile phones for health workers in Nepal as part of a new antenatal program that they are implementing after the earthquake. So there's been a lot of effort to not only rebuild, but to strengthen the health systems and many other things after the earthquakes. There were 2 very significant earthquakes, and our funding went to that program. So I'm hoping to be able to go visit as well with that one and show you a video maybe next year of the Nepal project. So just a little bit about MEX Mobile. They are a nonprofit as well, but they're a tech nonprofit, so we have a lot in common. Wonderful team, amazing people doing incredible work. They have efforts in 21 different countries around the world, and they focus on using mobile phones and open source software to improve the healthcare in the most remote areas. So the basic concept is that in more remote villages in developing countries, there isn't access to doctors and hospitals. Generally what happens is people volunteer to be in charge of, say, up to 50 different villagers' health. And they visit individually each of these people on a regular basis, collect any of their health issues or concerns, and then they travel by foot to the local doctor or hospital, which could in some cases take them many hours, days, we don't know. Collect information from the doctor for all 50 of these people, then walk all the way back, and then visit all of these 50 people to share what the doctor had to say. And you can imagine what might happen during that time frame. Some people may not make it if they're facing some sort of very serious illness or something that isn't going to allow for 3 days before they get an answer from a doctor. So what MEX Mobile does is hands cell phones to these health workers, and it started out with just feature phones so that they could call the doctor or the hospital instead of doing all of this traveling back and forth. Now they've really grown and they've expanded, and they're now writing their own apps, and they're using smartphones, and they have open source software on the smartphones where they're collecting all the data, they're uploading it to databases where doctors and hospitals can access the data, they're tracking trends, they're seeing where there's outbreaks. I mean, it's amazing, amazing work. So we were really, really excited to help them support their mission. And as you can probably imagine, I also was very forward-thinking in this partnership in the sense that they are supplying phones to hundreds, thousands of people in the most remote parts of the world, which I hope to eventually someday have access to share Bitcoin wallets and Bitcoin to all of these people. We have to obviously work on that with our relationship with MEX Mobile and get them comfortable with it and all sorts of things, but there's obviously a long-term opportunity there. So this is the video I wanted to show you from the Shisengo Girls' School in Western Kenya near Kakamega. In 2013, we started to dream about how the Bitcoin community could change the world. Kenya is years ahead of the rest of the world using mobile transactions throughout their daily lives.
The advantage of using Bitcoin, BitPesa, and M-Pesa is that this is mobile money, so it's quite quick. The costs of transferring this money from the US is quite low, and BitGive will be a great platform for doing that in the future.
Last year, we partnered with the Water Project and brought clean, safe water to a girls' school in Kakamega, Kenya. I'm so excited to share with you how bringing clean water to their school has changed their lives.
My name is Okoma Florence, and I'm the president of this school, Shisengo Girls. When they come in the morning, they come with water from their homes. The water is not enough for them. They are forced to go to that stream over there. It is 1 hour to go and to come back. Most of the time, they come complaining of headaches, stomachache, and sometimes they shiver in classes until you are not able to control it.
In Kenya here, a girl child is endangered. The society looks at a girl child as somebody who is not of that great importance, somebody who's just there to be given into early marriage.
That equality is not there. There are certain things you cannot stop me from doing, but my tradition tells me no. But you are struggling to come out of it. That's why you want girls to go to school, learn, know their rights.
It is important for a girl to study because they are the ones who bring in developments in their communities. When I heard that the school would be having a water well, I was very happy because I knew that I was going to be given a very humble time to study for my education. For now, since I've gotten that water, we will be able to wash, we will be able to drink, and it will be safe for our health.
The Water Project believes in empowering women, empowering the girl child in the community.
Those girls are happy. They have a reason to smile. They have a reason to sit down and study. They have a reason to also compete with boys in Kenya.
When you see us in the newspaper, in the magazine, Shisengo Girls, and we know it's because of water that has made this school to come up.
They want to prove themselves that they are useful to the society.
Those girls have the opportunity to acquire good employment opportunities because now they will sit down and read.
Being here in Kenya, I'm now convinced more than ever that Bitcoin is the future of giving. Wow. Oh, I don't quite want to go to that one yet. Okay. Thanks, guys. I love that response. So as you can see, it's hard to describe experiencing something like that. And the way that this all unfolded, the celebration that you were seeing, was actually all impromptu as well. So I was quite taken aback. It was the first day it arrived, and I was still jet lagged, and we didn't think that anyone was even going to be at the school. We were just kind of showing up to see, like, how can we film, where's the best lighting and all this. And then this whole thing that went on for like 6 hours of just the most joy I've ever seen in my life unfolded. So, excuse me. The community raised the funds for this project. And you know, we spearheaded the effort, and we spent a lot of time on it, but the money came from the Bitcoin industry and the community. So. And BitPesa, that you saw in the video, actually funded the video to be filmed and for me to be able to go there. So we're really grateful for them as well. And the Water Project obviously hosted us to do all of this. And they're an incredible organization that does amazing work. So we're really, really proud to be working with them. Let's see. Oh, there we go. So we, as a young organization, we have already received quite a bit of attention in the press from mainstream, a lot of the Bitcoin media as well, but some really mainstream sources which oftentimes pick up the more negative stories about Bitcoin. So it's really nice when we can have something like BitGive and the stories that we have to share showing up in mainstream media to represent Bitcoin and this industry in a different light than some of the other stories that have come out. So now what we're working on is what I call our Bitcoin Charity 2.0 initiative. And we're looking at ways to leverage blockchain technology. And when I say blockchain, I mean the Bitcoin blockchain. And I usually don't clarify that, but yes. I usually don't feel the need to clarify that, but I'm going to start doing that more now. To me, it's the same thing. So, but we are looking at ways to leverage the technology itself beyond raising funds for projects and important causes, which we want to do still as well. We're focusing on some more tech-oriented projects. So essentially what we've been doing is lining up these really strong nonprofit partnerships that we've been working on for several years now. Also making connections with organizations around the world that can help us with cashing out at the last mile. So BitPesa obviously is helping us in Kenya, but we have connections with BitPagos, BitOasis, obviously BitPay. We've talked with Align and UnoCoin and CoinSecure, and I need to add Bitso to this as well. Sorry about that. I will do that. So we're lining up all of this so that we can be ready to deploy on a global scale. I mentioned we're still very young and our bandwidth is pretty narrow. It's really just me working on all of BitGive's different initiatives and administrative responsibilities. So right now we focus on one thing at a time so we can do it really well. But we would really like to scale much larger than that and do a lot more. So we're aligning ourselves to do that. Some of the really exciting things we want to work on are, we've mentioned earlier yesterday, I guess, our donation transparency platform. So that's our current project that we're raising funds for, and you keep hearing about this Bitcoin comic, and we keep telling you guys about this great comic book. The money that we raise from that will go towards the donation transparency project. And it's also, well, basically, I think I described it a little bit yesterday, but we're looking at how to make the blockchain not only, it's already transparent and you can already watch how funds flow, but you have to really be pretty technical to do that. You have to be able to read code and hash and all kinds of things, and it's a little bit complicated. So what we want to do is build a very user-friendly interface that the public and donors can access to see when they donate to an NGO, where does the money go? How does it break down across the different costs for a particular project? How does it get to, say, Kenya? Our pilot will be for Kenya. And how does it get converted to local currency and actually go to a project on the ground somewhere in the developing world? After we do that, we have lots of other aspirations. I'd really like to work with MEX Mobile to work on a way to help them transfer confidential health data. They're doing a lot of that across many different countries in the world. They have a lot of questions and concerns and issues about that, and I think we can help them using the blockchain. I also have a lot of ideas about microfinance and doing things like give directly, but with Bitcoin, and maybe leveraging all those phones that MEX Mobile is putting out there across the world. And looking at how we can help with different payment systems in these remote areas around the world as well. So lots of cool things. At least I think they're cool. This is just to show a little bit more about the Transparency Project. This is our flagship project now that we're really focusing on. And the concept is that, like I said, you could actually see as a donor or a member of the public how the money is flowing on the blockchain, but in a very user-friendly interface, and how it breaks down where there's different costs across the project. The water project has, they're based in the US. They obviously have staff and expenses there. Some of the funding will go there. Some of the funding will flow to their local partners in Kenya who are actually building the projects. And then those partners have obviously staff. They have to buy parts. They have to buy concrete, et cetera, et cetera. So our hope is that we'll be able to show all of this on the blockchain for a donor to see exactly how a project is being built and where their funds are going. Oops. The other really exciting thing that I would like to leverage with this is not just the transparency and the accountability that it offers, but how it will essentially provide an opportunity for NGOs that are willing and excited and ready to share this kind of information, like the Water Project is ready to do, will benefit from that. And more funding will, I would think, flow to them because donors would understand where their money is going. So then we're rewarding the good players, right? And then we're setting a new standard, right, that other NGOs are going to have to meet if they want to attract funding as well. So I'm really excited about what all this can do. And as we build it out, the prototype and the pilot will probably be pretty simple so that we can have a proof of concept. But as we build it out, I'd really like to build in things like analytics so we can show on in real time how much better this is and how different this is than traditional systems. So that's all. I have no idea where my time is. If you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer them. And Rodolfo, do you know how much time I have left? Or does anyone know?
I guess at least two questions.
Okay, so we can take a couple questions if anyone has any. Yes? Ira, hey. This is our QR code, by the way, if you would like to donate to BitGive.
Hi, Connie. Thanks for the great presentation. My question is about how to contribute. So I'm really excited to see you working on technological solutions for charities. I think there's really huge potential there. In addition to raising funds, are there ways that people can donate code, can contribute in other ways?
Yeah, we'd love that, actually. So I mentioned that our resources are pretty limited and our bandwidth is pretty narrow. My background is not in the technical computer science or coding. My background's in environmental work and my degree's in forestry, and I have 15 years of experience in working with nonprofits and helping them improve their work. So one of the things we would be spending the funds on that we were able to raise would be on development. Obviously, that's very expensive. So we would love things like that to be donated to the foundation, and we'd love the support of the community in that way as well. So I know it's hard to find developers, and obviously when they're in demand, they cost more. And as a charity, it's really hard for us to compete with some of the larger companies that can hire them and pay them well. So.
Okay. Some other question? I have one anyway. Yeah? Bueno. About your project, your transparency project. Yes. Part of the funds when you make a donation are used by the I don't know, medics for mobile for medics, for example. Yes. To support the team, the working force. Not everything goes to the final user. Yes. So I guess that in your platform, such information should or will also be understood. I mean, 20% of your money went here. Do you think that people making donations who have the fantasy that money might go fully to the destination might get concerned about how come 25% of my money is not reaching there? What do you think about that?
I'm trying to reverse it to show it gets back to the slide.
I think it's freezed. It's
not working. That's a very good question. So, having a lot of experience in working with nonprofits, this question of that you're sort of alluding to, but that is also out there pretty broadly in the world as to how much is spent on overhead and administration and things like that. And sometimes it's taken way too far. You're acknowledging that, yes, obviously there are expenses like that. You have to have staff. You have to have marketing. You have to have all these things. I think a lot of times people don't really understand that a nonprofit is just like a business. It has to have all of the same things. It has to have good staff that they can retain, that are talented, that want to stay there, that aren't taken away by someone else because they can pay them more. They have to market themselves. They have to travel. They have all of these expenses just like a business. In order to do good work, you have to do these things, right? I mean, can you imagine if a business was given the restraints that I think a lot of people expect charities to operate under? I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Dan Pallotta, but you should. He did a TED Talk about this, and it's very powerful. It's about 12 minutes long, so won't take too much of your time. And I can't remember the title of it at the moment, but I think it's something like, "What we think of charity is dead wrong," or something along those lines. It's very powerful. So, while I want to have transparency, and I do want to show what you're asking, how does it break down across the, well. Okay, sounds like we have a bid on our comic book. I will finish answering that. Look at this. Oh, wow. What's going on here? I missed a few bids. Okay, so Rodolfo was at 8.5. Oh, wow, we got a war going on here. Okay, so now we're at 9 Bitcoin for the comic book. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, this is exciting. Yay! So, and this funding is going to the Transparency Project. So it will show, like you're asking, how much is spent on all these things so that donors can see. But for me personally, this is also an opportunity to educate people about this very issue, that it does cost money to do good work. And if you want good, effective outcomes, maybe not all the money ends up in Kenya, but you end up with the results you wanted, and that's what makes a donor, I would assume, feel good about making a contribution.
Okay. Bueno, thank you a lot, Connie.